Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work. And it's fucking Friday, so let's go, guys. So first up on the docket is Coleman. I'll put the link to what you're about to read in the chat.
So do I just read the
You
piece?
can do whatever you want to do. You can, if you want to like introduce yourself a little bit, that's fine. If you don't want to introduce yourself and you just want to launch right into the poems, that's fine too. Totally up to you.
Okay, interesting. So these are a couple of poems after my partner and I had a little scare in terms of oh wait, am I still recording? Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So this is about a vasectomy and an ultrasound. So I'll go ahead and start reading. Ultrasound. You're not even a baby. You're just a face and can't survive alone. Warping like TV static on the screen. And through the static, your skull. Anything like your brain seems impossible. We found a weird-ass couple in Tennessee a couple of months ago. He'll cry like a baby and you're not even a baby. You're not dead or alive yet. I wonder which parts will become alive, how my penis opens doors. But deeper than that, will you browse Facebook for answers, wondering where I work now? And the second one is called Sexy Times. Walking among the tulips and glimpsing genitalia. Yesterday, I scheduled a vasectomy. My jeans dissolved like words whispered mid-hurricane. My faceless boy fell from a flaming slide as swings sang vacant in the wind. My life wants more of life. Fucks with me, big time. No matter what I do, you taste like necessity. All right, and I think that's all I'd like to read tonight. Thank you for listening.
Those were fantastic, Coleman. I've said this to you before, like over email, right? But I am in awe of how precisely your poems are written. There's not a single wasted word. And yet, like the thing that's really, really fantastic though, is not only are they wonderfully concise, but they're like tonally all over the place. It's not like, you'll see some people will write like these little like haikus or these really like concise poems, and it will be like, I've got one emotion to share, I've got 10 lines to share it in, buckle up. Yours, there's so much emotional breadth over the course of like the first one goes from like surreal to funny to really bittersweet and really almost mournful, and like boom 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 so quickly and so efficiently. I'm just in awe, Coleman. Thank you so much for sharing these.
Well, thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Daniel's up next.
Hi.
Hey, Daniel. So you're going to read your mother's work tonight, I think you said.
Yeah. So I'm going to read something that my mom wrote. So I have an introduction. So my mother, Nina Stanger, was a civil rights lawyer in the UK in the 1960s and 70s. She defended squatters, anarchists, and the IRA. She was one of the first female lawyers in London at the time and was known in the tabloid press as the barrister in miniskirts. She also loved literature and wrote a novel before she died in 1999. It took me 21 years to read this novel, but now it's going to be published. Her legal work was very much about social justice, yet her book, titled Falcon, showcases her aesthetic and literary tastes. It is decadent and romantic and edgy. Set in the so-called swinging 60s, or sexist 60s, as some say now, it is a comedic romp through sex, drugs, jazz, politics, youth, more sex, and lots of satire about Oxford University and the British aristocratic and intellectual elites who are still in power in that wretched island, even if Boris Johnson steps down. So here's the text. Through Radcliffe, and the link is, there's a link to read along if you want. Through Radcliffe, his father's personal private secretary, Guy had made an appointment with the Duke at 11:30 on Tuesday morning. As he walked towards his father's study, he found Rupert nervously hanging around in the long gallery. Papa's in a belligerent mood, Rupert warned. It's nothing to do with you, but I fear that he will take it out on you. It is to do with the death of John Adams, a drunken carrier, and the family of the carrier are threatening to sue him for permitting the man to drink at work and thereby contributing to his death. Wasn't there that business of the epitaph on the tombstone, mocking at him? Yes, laughed Rupert, but you were responsible for that. I don't know if Papa knows about that. For all kinds of reasons, it would be just as well not to supplicate him today. I don't think he's in the giving vein. I'm not a supplicant. I'm not asking him to give me anything. I just want his consent to my engagement. Then it can be announced in the Times. Then all the moths hovering around her can buzz off. I don't think moths buzz, but Papa is about to roar. He's in the cantankerous and irascible mode this morning. I advise postponing this interview. I can't. I've waited a whole week to get it. I don't know when he'll be available again. He tapped politely on the study door and waited. After a silent wait of a full 2 minutes, an irritable voice inside called out, "Oh, do come in, will you?" Guy crept quietly inside. His father sat at his desk, frenziedly wrestling with pieces of paper. The furious face glowed red. The dark, cold fire eyes glowered. "Oh, it's you," he said irritably. "What do you want? I'm very busy. I'm not increasing your allowance. Don't even bother to ask." "I wasn't going to ask for anything like that. I just wanted to ask for your consent so that I could get engaged and make an announcement in the Times." "Engaged to do what? What is this?" "Engaged to be married." "Where? With whom? Why? When?" His father looked startled. "Not that bloody Gloria, is it? I've already seen her off. Bloody little gold digger she is, but artful. And not bad looking. I can see what you saw in her." It was Guy's turn to look startled. He had not heard of any of this, but he thought it was a can of worms he would rather not open. "No, it's with Clelia. You met her when she came here for various weekends." The Duke groped about in the recesses of his memory. There had been so many girls, it wasn't easy to fit a face to a name. "That very beautiful blonde who amazed us by coming down to dinner in a red basque. She looked as if she'd forgotten to put her dress on," he reflected appreciatively. "She had forgotten to put her dress on. I remember how you thoughtfully placed those beautiful, almost naked bosoms next to me." He floated off into a reverie. So it had worked, thought Guy. Now it will be all plain sailing. "Wait a minute." The old Duke jerked awake. "Isn't she the daughter of that wretched minister who's trying to bring down the government? You know who I mean. That dreadful foreign minister of ill repute whose scandals are daily reported in the newspapers?" He looked hard and furiously at Guy. "You know who I mean. You know." He gestured wildly with his hands, frenziedly raiding the old lumber room of his mind and throwing out old bits and bobs along the way. "To cap it all, he's a ruddy foreigner who's come here and brought with him all his filthy foreign habits. You know who I mean." Sister, not daughter. Yes, that's it. I'm right. Though she seemed perfectly English and very well educated. Told me she was going to Oxford. I've never met him, thank God. But papa, don't you papa me, young fellow. I've already got you out of one scrape with bloody Gloria getting her pregnant, or so she said. I'll be damned if I let you leap immediately into another scrape with another disreputable young woman from an impoverished background who's only after you for your title and money. That's all these bloody foreigners come to England for, twerps like you. Papa, you can't blame her for something her brother has done. She's in no way involved. Oh, yes, she is. She's his daughter, like father, like daughter. No, thank you very much. None of them, please. And didn't I see you on television the other day with the same disreputable minister going to the races? Guy was amazed. I did go to Ascot. It was with the Queen Mother. I didn't know it was on television. And that you didn't, sneered his father. There's a lot a naive young rake like you doesn't know. The Queen Mother can't be blamed for being in the company of one so disreputable. How can she know, God bless her? As for you, you knew damned well what he was up to. Probably went along for a bit of the same yourself. Well, I won't put up with it, so there. I won't have you seen in public with someone so disgusting, and I certainly shan't allow him to marry his offspring into our family. Guy was so astonished at this outburst that he was unable to move. The beady eye of his father remained fixed upon him. It was almost as if his father suddenly realized who he was. You, he shouted. Guy leapt to his feet. I've been hearing some very bad reports about you. Maybe you've got your ideas from this fellow Crespi. That's his name. Debauchery. That's what it is. Where's your mother? She has to be here for this. He reached behind the desk for the bell rope and tugged upon it violently, all the while screaming, Your mother! Your mother! The butler hurried into the room, looking very alarmed. The Duchess, he shouted. Yes, your grace, said the butler and hurried away. Guy gazed on him in silent alarm. Is it a heart attack or a fit? He wondered. The Duchess came hurrying along the gallery and ran into the study. What is it? What's the matter? She cried in alarm. The Duke rose heavily and portentously to his feet. This is your son, he boomed out. Sift him! Sift him! Guy and his mother turned towards each other and their mouths fell open in amazement. Sift him, screamed the Duke. Sift him! A prodigal sifted and found out in his several debaucheries. Get on with it, woman, sift him. No more indulgence to our graceless son. Let's sift him, woman, to know what he has done. Then sift on, wife, for it must be known how he has spent our money, not his own. Attracted to the room by the noise of his father shouting, Rupert stood in the doorway with mouth agape. This is most unmannerly, husband, protested the Duchess. You hardly ever see your son. You can't be this unmannerly towards him. And why is it that I hardly ever see him? Shouted the Duke. He's too busy in his debaucheries. He only ever visits if his gambling losses and debts require to be paid. I never go gambling, protested Guy. Liar, screamed the Duke. You just told me yourself you went to Ascot in the company of a notorious whoremaster and profligate. John, really, do stop it, cried the Duchess, visibly distressed, but there was no stopping the Duke when he was in full gallop. Inconveniences and trains of evil attending idleness, tippling, gaming, and drunkenness being a short view of the present shame, future misery, and final end of ungovernable youth in their drunken excess. What we must do, he said, spitting out the words, is pass this prodigal through the sieve. Then your bad habits will be seen by the objects that we see falling through the sieve. Papa, protested Rupert, how can you be so cruel? Don't sieve him. Please don't sieve him. The Duke, exhausted, slumped back into his plush velvet armchair. We would see dice, tobacco, a wine glass, fancy clothes, and, he paused for dramatic effect, a tennis racket. Thank God for that, said Rupert sotto voce. It could have been much worse. They all exchanged anxious glances and looked towards the Duke, who was lost in a reverie and gazing at the angels of dust dancing in the shafts of sunlight. The butler came and brought him his brandy, and he indicated for Guy to come and sit near him. He dismissed the others with a glance. There was a long silence. Guy suddenly became aware that his father was speaking to him. The fact is, young fellow, that there is no prospect of your being permitted to marry before the age of 25. That is the tradition in this family. When you do become engaged, the name of the happy fiancé in question will be communicated to you by myself and your mother. At your age, I once made the mistake of falling for a pretty face and did as you have done, requested permission to become engaged to her. My father treated me to a very sound thrashing, and I did not make that mistake again. My offer to sieve you is mild by comparison with my father's treatment of me. My father was right. Neither I then nor you now had the slightest idea as to who would make a suitable wife to work hard, breed children, and manage the household. A beautiful young thing, intelligent enough to go up to Oxford, will certainly not desire an occupation like this, that your wife will be destined to undertake. Think no more about marriage and get on with your studies. Otherwise, I promise you, I shall take you away from Oxford, revoke your allowance, and set you to work in the farms of Rhodesia, and you won't return to Malplaquet until I allow you. Guy assumed that this was finally the end of this horrible encounter and was about to slink miserably away, but his father restrained him with a gesture. You must understand, he continued, and I'm sure I've said it to you before, but you're a damned casual fellow who never does listen. This ancient family has always lived with the tradition of service. Service to the family, service to the country, service to the church, service to the royal family, service to the empire. We're not here to have a good time and enjoy ourselves. We're here to give something to others, to serve the nation in Parliament, to help form and lead governments. The English aristocracy is the backbone of the nation. You can't go around just thinking of yourself. You have to think of others, and when called upon, make sacrifices for others, even if it means laying down your life for those less fortunate than you. I've made sacrifices in my time. I've seen active service in war and cared for the men under my command. On my return, I married the woman my father selected for me. That's your mother. Of course, I didn't love her, but I did my duty. You will do yours. Now you are dismissed. Guy dragged himself out of the room. Rupert was waiting for him in the gallery and helped him up to the nursery where Mrs. B comforted him. It's so beastly unfair, groaned Guy. He's never like this to you. That's because I'm not the eldest son, commiserated Rupert. He has to put you under tremendous pressure, as you are the eldest son and heir. He's determined to mold you to his will. You're the one who has to run the estate and carry on all the antique traditions. It's not so important in my case. You're so busy charming him, he never has time to tell you off. You've been away a bit, but I can tell you, it's pretty bad with Cedric. He spends all his time screaming at him. I don't think Papa would dare to beat him. He knows Cedric will kill him if he tried. Thank God someone has the guts to stand up to the bully. I certainly can't. Thank you.
Daniel, I think that is easily the most British thing that has ever been read on Misery Loves Company. I will say though, you've read some of your work in the past, and I've always thought that you're a really like great, sharp, social satirical writer. And now I know where you got that from, because this is so funny. And whenever you think it's settling into kind of like serious groove, you know, whenever you think that like the human relationships are going to escalate, instead it gets more absurd, it gets sillier, and it's so like sharp and witty. It's just really funny and well written, and it's really interesting to, I think this may be the first time anyone on here has read a piece by a member of their family, and it's really interesting to like, to like see what some, people have read their artistic influences, right? Before, like Josh Sherman has read like authors he admires, but I think this is the first time someone has read someone who is a personal, very direct influence on them. So it's really interesting. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks. I'll keep you posted as to when it gets published.
Definitely.
I just want to add that I'm so interested in this character of who she was, considering that she was an ally to anarchists and squatters. It's a very curious history to me, and I would love to read more about it. I really would.
Okay. I plan to write something and publish something about her, so I'll keep you all posted.
Thanks so much, Daniel. That's awesome. Up next is Colton.
All right. I have a Google Doc of my shit. I'm gonna see if I can paste the link in the chat. Let me know if that works for you, William.
Perfect.
Did it work? All right, cool. So yeah, link in the chat. So this is So the first piece, I'm reading two pieces. They're like short story, poetry, vignette, bullshit. I don't fucking know. This first one is like a combination of my love of arcades, uh, violence on the screen, military stuff, McDonald's. And then the next piece, adolescent egocentrism, is like about selfish childhood and like not being aware of like morality and like or mortality, like you know you're gonna die someday, shit's gonna happen to you. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. First piece, main menu, squelchy extraterrestrial synth sounds, meth head prostitutes with almost lover emoji eyes. Insert coin, 1 out of 2. There are pictures of dead bodies destroyed. There are pictures of dead bodies in destroyed buildings printed in magazines. Media machines let military skirmishes take center stage. 9-year-olds who haven't even had periods yet are obsessively Googling Pain Olympics videos and Abu Ghraib photos. Other children are in bowling alleys. Their eyes are hypnotized by the stimulating coin ops. The Area 51 light gun arcade machine is a crowd favorite. Priceless Atari Kojak hardware. It wasn't as successful as Area 51 Site 4 with its Atari Media GX hardware, but the kids don't care. They delight in green mutant guts splattering across the screen. Their hearts now overflow with violent baby tendencies. Nearby, the House of the Dead deluxe cabinet showcases polyangular zombies leaping out for flesh. Invisible bullets blow off their limbs. The player stands still, but the game progresses forward. Blood-stilled eyes transfix on the next target. Shoot off screen to reload. In the Ocean Hunter rail shooter, choral voices surround player bodies situated in cockpit cabinets. Their submerged avatars search for the Kraken hidden in a sunken pirate ship filled with hissing barracudas and giant sea serpents. The experience is an aquatic haptic feedback system, but nothing really happens. The real virtual reality headset is that confused, absent-minded personality disorder. Death is recycled on a sushi conveyor belt. The world is greener with more fertilizer, after all. Sega's Model 1 hardware was specifically designed for 3D polygon graphics, but Yu Suzuki wanted to make games with improved motion capture technology. And eventually, after the fall of the Soviet Union, General Electric Aerospace, eager to push military simulation technology into the commercial market, approached Suzuki's team and offered real-time texture mapping application-specific integrated circuits. And thus, the development of the Sega Model 2 was underway. Augmented casualties, paradoxically, create an anti-venom that combats persuasive values instilled in engineered suffering. In the duplication of advanced warfare, there is no decentralized clarity. Blood-infused beaches will always wash ashore the crying wails of bloated pawns. All skeletons now splash around in desensitized waves. We are prisms, and what remains is the choice of expression and our reaction. The burden of pain is beset upon all of us, and we are the judges of tolerance. Woe to the artist who is subject to the bombs. Mere imagery, ah yes, we've seen this carnage before. The motives are starting to materialize. Violence from the outside is a toy dropped from a floating island, that neverland looming over our constant cosmopolitanism. But material brutality is assuredly a neuronal fixture too. It is a calculated savagery for psychological control, a means for provocation where meditated minds are caught off guard. The unstable loner steals a dusty copy of Das Kapital from the local university and beats a feminist to death with it. Shots, 868. Kills, 533. Accuracy, 61.4%. Streak, 15. Secrets, 11 of 20. Treasure, 144,628 gold. Total score, 405,380 points. I'm in the McDonald's drive-thru looking at the white speaker box lit up by the nearby food menu. A lot of items are missing. I look down and someone has written on the speaker box, "Survival of the Pimpest." There's an upside down cross next to it. I hear a muffling sound. "Hello, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you?" "Yeah, I'll have a number 7, large size with fries and a Sprite to drink." "Number 7, large size with a Sprite?" "Yep." Okay, that'll be 7:52. Thank you. I pulled my card forward. The new Seekers song from that globalist hippie Coca-Cola commercial is playing in my card now. I look into the tree branches hanging over the cashier's window. I see twiggy faces formed by 2 a.m. star-filled sky holes carved out by leafless branch outlines. I remember an art teacher from my childhood who told me that to draw a tree, you needed to see that trees were alive. Every tree in nature had a personality. They were living beings who had thoughts and emotions, just like people. And I'm not gonna lie, that scared the fuck out of me. Like, what the fuck do you mean that trees are alive? Anyways, the sliding window opens and I pay for my meal. I grab the warm bag and place it on my crotch. I place the drink in the cup holder and I use one hand to steer and the other to eat the little fried potato fingers as I drive back to my apartment. When I get home and set down my meal on the coffee table, I gasp. The cup they use for my drink is clear and transparent. I can see the bubbles rise up from the bottom of the cup. I suck on the white straw, decorated with vertical red and yellow stripes, that thrusts upward through clenching jaws in the middle of the plastic lid cover. Tangy fizz flicks into my throat with every sip. Now I open the brown paper bag. Warm wrapping paper bundles each cheeseburger in its final freshness. The unwrapping releases invisible smells of memories and time. When I sink my teeth into the cheeseburger, I can immediately taste the combination of the ketchup and mustard. Small cut up onions swish around my mouth. Biting into the crisp yet soft bun feels like kissing a soft cheek. And of course, there's that crusty sliver of mystery meat covered in American cheese. All of this disintegrates when I chew. Before each bite, I pull out the pickles from on top of the patty and lay them on the creased yellow paper covered in slimy tomato paste. The golden fries, nestled in the red French fry scoop, provided a salty, subtle crunch, followed by a sweet gulp of soda product. The meal finds its unity when the swallowed mush is broken down, both in my stomach and in my fantasy. I'll admit that I did steal my cat's diazepam prescription so that I could deal with my anxiety at work, but I stole my mom's Xanax prescription because I thought it'd be fun. So you can take ecstasy and still believe in global genocide? Jesus Christ versus the World, track 1 from Fuck You, It's Art 2008. There is a sex-filled air in an unseen room between two lovers that surround a great model of their desired world. They're playing and plotting, writing and fucking, abdicating with a whimper when the time is right. Come for you, that's what I wanted to do. The way you asked me softly while we hid under your white sheets, with my lips tied up with yours, my hands lost in your curly black hair. You should keep this love with gripped hands and gentle eyes. You countered me and put a seed into my chest, a loving spirit that will foster a want to gift away peach cobbler, to share stories of sinners like Miguel Ramirez, who showed his cousin Richard pictures of his Vietnam tour beheading photos before Richard became a cold-blooded serial killer. And I think now we should imagine a happier tomorrow, one filled with red wine lipstick and meth head prostitutes. We exist in a systemic web of fishing line and razor wire. Hydrogen bonds and hydrogen bombs keep consciousness secure. I am stuck in sin. I am stuck in sin. I am stuck in sin. As Aldo Leopold once said, it must be a poor life that achieves freedom from fear. I am the shaking shadow of a flower dancing in your sunlight. You are the forebearer of a spiritual love that is concrete. It radiates from you as you are. I can give you nothing but a performance of the love I could never promise and a selfish shame that can never be forgotten because I want to be forgotten. Homeless guy named Winchester sitting outside having McDonald's on the curb. He had a yellow wristband on, just got out of recovery for alcoholism. His daughter Becca died of a heroin overdose in Colorado when she was only 22. He lost his mother as well around the same time. He stayed with her in the hospital every day. She was 87 years old when she died. He didn't pay rent or go to work. He ended up homeless caring for his mother. He had to make sure the hospital staff didn't prescribe his mom morphine. She was allergic. His great uncle, Jeff Winchester, branded cattle during the Great Depression to make ends meet. Family land in Florida provided plenty of profit until relatives sold the orange fields to Disney. Those orange fields are now covered in asphalt. Winchester knows that his name is royalty, but his parents always told him he was an outlaw. He wants to publish a book, but he didn't want to start writing it until his mother died. He's still putting it together. His girlfriend is blacker than night. He loves her a lot. He asked me if he could use my phone to call her. I said yes. He called her and said that he was okay and that she didn't have to worry about him. I love you, baby girl. The worst part about Winchester's story was that he saw his cat, Mr. Boots, get eaten alive by raccoons. The only thing left was the cat's tail. All right. Next story or collection of little. I just like to combine little like either quotes, stories, or random shit I write in my notes app and just copy and paste as if it was my notes app. So yeah, it's very, very spotty. So that's why I decided to actually post the script this time. But all right, number 2, adolescent egocentrism, or the personal fables of our own misguided invincibility. So yeah, it's funny. One time I was driving down Tutwiler and I started coughing so hard that I passed out for 8 seconds. I ended up rolling through a stop sign and woke up in an empty field. I take a drag from the one-hitter pipe in my hand and I nod my head, coughing out the words, "Holy shit." Decker told me this story after he almost passed out from coughing up weed exhale in front of me. We started smoking out back behind the restaurant because I needed to help my hangover. But before we got out here, Decker and I were both in the kitchen doing dishes, and he jokingly asked if I wanted to do jankum to cure my hangover. And I asked him what jankum was. The other cooks looked at me like I was crazy. So Decker proceeds to tell me that jankum is an inhalant that makes you hallucinate. You put piss and shit in the ground in some container and have a balloon collect the fermented dookie urine fumes. Apparently you get high as a motherfucker, but Decker says we should go smoke instead. So I snap back to the present and pass the pipe. As I do this, I bring up jankum and huffing balloons and say, I like balloons. I miss those little balloon stands, you know, the ones in parks and stuff. They're super cheesy, but they're fun. Much better than a flower stand. And Decker replies, well, those things kind of died out because of the child rape. And I reply, oh yeah, shit, I forgot about the child rape. We talk back and forth about child rape, but decide to walk back inside. We get distracted and start talking about snuff, splatters, sexploitation, and torture films. We talk about the usual classics, the Guinea Pig series, Lolita vibrator torture, the August Underground series, Necromantic 1 and 2, Third Toad's King, Martyrs, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, Trouble Every Day, a Serbian film, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I Spit on Your Grave, Sallow, Irreversible, The Burning Moon, Cannibal Holocaust, Faces of Death, The Devil's Rejects, Last House on Dead End Street, Splatter, Naked Blood, Hostel, The Human Centipede. The list goes on. And as we head back into the kitchen, I tell Decker, I mean, some of those movies are art, you know. And Decker looks at me like a Zambian child high on human waste and says, those are words. The new kitty brought into the vet's office is anemic. His red blood cell count should be 35, but it's 11. Possible chance of leukemia from the test results. Can't be too sure. Definitely a sign of a severe sinus infection. The doctor looks at me as they're holding the inconclusive leukemia test and tells me that if worse comes to worse, we can do a blood transfusion. We can hope I can afford the blood transfusion. We can hope the next leukemia test comes back negative. We can hope the sinus infection hasn't spread to his bones. We can hope more iron in his diet will increase his blood count. All we can do is hope that this kitten can avoid sinusitis, might have written that wrong, leukemia, and recover some red blood cells. If not, the E word is all we can do. You shouldn't feel ashamed if you can't afford to help him. It's okay. Now the guitar strings and the lobby music overhead pluck a sad tune that matches this little cat's purring. I'm lost in the ambience of maroon cushions and lifeless skin beige walls, the glossy posters of animal anatomy diagrams with arrows pointing to where worms and diseases are commonly found in their organs hang and loom about the room. The brown checkered floor is twisting around as my eyes try to focus on something. The little kitten's sniffly breathing sounds like a ticking lawn sprinkler. His paws cling to the dense pockets of air that he can see. His little kitty mind wanders to sleep as his overworked body floats through a euphoric pool of injected antibiotics. But even in this deep sleep, he's still sneezy, sniffly. His eyes open here and there, and I fill up his pupil. He blinks and blinks and blinks. Dermatologists know that skin cancer patients are very specific. For instance, Americans who drive 16-wheeler trucks will come in because they've developed skin cancer on the left side of their face. Hell, even pilots for commercial airplanes will develop melanoma for being too close to the sun high up in the sky. Every time we cauterize a wound where we remove a patch of skin, it smells like bacon. The plate covered in cocaine is still hot from being warmed up in the microwave. It sits between me and my neighbor, Mitch. It's 1 a.m. exactly. We talk about work and relationships when suddenly Mitch says, I don't tell many people this, but I remember this one night when I was a kid, I heard a loud banging at my door. I looked out my window and saw a dark black figure, about 8 or 9 feet tall. It had these bright and menacing yellow eyes. The first time I heard this creature was out near Moscow and Wilston. The scream of this creature sounded like an ambulance siren mixed with a fire truck horn. Like a holy scream.
Is that part of the act or not?
I don't think so, but it works. Like it fucking kind of
I
works.
was not. I normally. Well, what can you do? I gotta let this play out for just a second.
Okay, okay.
Oh, okay, they stopped. They
Okay.
stopped.
I was like, this is so cool. It's okay.
What's the timing? Okay, okay.
Oh god. Okay. Anyways, so let's see. The scream of this creature sounded like an ambulance siren mixed with the fire truck horn, almost like a holy scream. You could hear it for miles. The creature killed small dogs, emus, and goats. It was severing their heads, draining their blood, stuff like that. Apparently, these animals were murdered after a meteor fell down to Earth some time ago. I saw it with my dad. The projectile lit up the night sky so that it looked like morning time. We tried to follow the trajectory, but we never saw the landing site. But pretty soon, we noticed the unusual killing. The killing season usually started in the spring and ended mid-fall. And I noticed this pattern, you see, and I just know I'm going to find this thing one day. I ask Mitch if he wants me to cut up some more lines. He says yes. I tell him to continue talking. A few years later, I was driving in my 2009 Dodge Avenger back in the day, and I saw something walk in front of me. I put my brights on, and I see Bigfoot stopped, looking at me. He turns his head and continues walking across the driveway. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is Bigfoot. And after the creature ran away, I go check and see human-like footprints going into the woods. Mitch snorts his line. I take the dollar bill from his hand and fumble it onto the plate. Fuck, maybe I should slow down. A few seconds go by. The crushed up powder sits there quietly. I hear an owl hooting across the street. My face twitches through a gnarly throat drip. My fingers flail and snap. I tightly fold the cash funnel and snort my line. I use a napkin to gather a collection of cocaine snot dripping onto my upper lip. I crinkle up the napkin, put it in my mouth, and suck on it. I look up at Mitch and utter the words, "Go on." Long ago, I went on a date with a woman, and she had a perfume spray bottle full of absinthe tucked into her overalls. She looked at me with her seductive eyes after our date and told me, "Let's go to my place so we can fuck and look at the slugs crawling around my kitchen." I used to be a bad kid, you know. I had 8 court cases open at one point, racked up $15,000 worth of damage on a rental car, smoked so much weed you wouldn't even believe, went through the whole coke and heroin thing. I'm clean and don't fuck with that stuff anymore. You ever inject cocaine? Fucking game changer. Oh, not even close to snorting the shit. I mean, you're talking just the most intense high you can feel, but I'm past that now. I've worked for damn near all the chefs in Memphis. I have my routine down to a science. Nowadays, I just sell curated, smoked, and raw meats. I also work the line for that new Italian restaurant in Midtown. You seriously couldn't pay me to do anything else. I'll smoke the best pork butt and plate the finest rigatoni you've ever seen, God damn it. I have this unnatural fear that whenever I'm in my car and my left hand is hanging out the window holding a lit cigarette, some guy will come by and cut my hand clean off. Or worse, he'll cut my hand and fingers off in some weird diagonal, leaving me with like a ginger root looking hand. And so I'll flinch my hand back inside the car randomly sometimes, and I'll just ash into the one copy and paste it, right? And I'll just add it to the console for the rest of the ride. All right, boom, done.
Colton, my God. Okay, so I think I've commented on this before, but I love these pieces you do that are like just a mosaic of like different voices. And I love the way they come together, because you would think these are all these disparate things. It feels like collage, right? And you would think, oh, well, that doesn't go with that, doesn't go with that. But instead, you have this incredibly intricate, interconnected, like almost philosophical like result, where it really does feel like all these different pieces of the collage fit together perfectly in this way that like brings about this like fucking heightened state of consciousness. But here's the thing I really want to talk about, though: the fucking McDonald's hamburger. So I have not had a McDonald's hamburger probably in 20 years. And I have not enjoyed a McDonald's hamburger probably since I was over 13. What have I had? I always get a chick. If we go to McDonald's together, I always get the chicken.
You lie.
Have I had a hamburger? Have I had an actual McDonald's hamburger?
I think you had a quarter pounder once.
Once? Maybe
yeah, I think I forced you
once.
to get it while you were. Yeah.
Maybe I've had one quarter pounder in the last 20 years. But what happened here, though, is as you were reading that, I had the most powerful sense memory of being like 6, 7, 8 years old and eating a McDonald's hamburger. And I understood for the first time, probably in 25 years, why people enjoy eating McDonald's hamburgers. It's like your description was so vivid and so amazing. It transported me back to my childhood, and I understood some little piece of lost like information. So Colton, that was fucking incredible.
Yeah, thank you. I always appreciate y'all letting me read my weird fucking shit on here.
Yeah, that was an amazing extension to the Summer of Gooch, but also the McDonald's the McDonald's hamburger part. Man, that is like out of this world with like you can feel the mouthfeel in the description, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's exactly like when I have a McDonald's hamburger, I almost orgasm. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's that good. It's that mouthfeel. I don't know about good. Good's not really the right word, but yeah.
I mean, McDonald's, just like Disney, figured out something good that can go into kids' mouths, you know. God damn it. Oh man, I appreciate it.
That's on video now.
Fuck yeah.
Cancel me, Disney, whatever. I feel like I'm making a movie about Winnie the Pooh being a fucking murdering sociopath. I mean, which I am. God damn, I hope that works. I hope that fucking works.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much, Colton. That rocked. So, Rudy, while your mic is unmuted, it's muted again. But anyway, while your mic was fucking Rudy, it's your turn. You're next, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so someone asked me to read some games, so I was thinking about reading some games anyway, but I was either gonna read games or a poem about brutally beating a dog. So I guess I'll read the games, I guess. So everybody's safe, hooray. So I'll link some of these. Basically, I'm gonna do kind of a 2 truths and a lie thing. Yeah, with these games, I'm gonna read 3 games. One is very much a lie. The others are kind of partially true. Here it goes. This is the first one. I think this is the right document. This one is called Shoryuken Motion. These are all 200-word RPGs, so they're very short. Shoryuken Motion. 2 volunteers become opposing fighters in Grand Tournament. Tournament is outdoors only. All others, you audience, watch. Listen. Fighter is colorful and inscrutable. Name/appearance only requirements. Tournament have rounds 60 to 99 seconds each. Use timer. Round 1. Fighters. Move yourselves. Convey battle. Flying kick, teleport, fireball. Yell to distinguish movements dramatically. I'll show you ninjutsu. Primal Blast. Vocalizations, not descriptions of technique, mostly stagecraft. Entertain audience until timer expire. Kabuki quality drama optional. Audience, deduce happenings of round from senses. Watch, listen, discuss, name moves, enhance flavor. Round 2, fighters, move as before. Audience, after round, introduce game mechanics. How moves affect progress of fight. Some move immobilize, some protect more greater, some have costs. Write these public. Round 3, fighters, move in harmony with mechanics. Continue even if mistakes made. Audience, from now on, groom game mechanics. Remove error, or not. Make new. After round 4, grow audience proportionally to rules bloating. Fighters, move with victory lust. Audience, hold rules / cane firmly. Punish incompetent fighter. Become mechanics vocalization enforcement automaton. Hit, counter, stun. Argue balance. Now, declare winner on timer expire, or before if rules dictate. Loudest audience member record tournament, commentate Evo style, upload, shame loser. Continue tournament until melancholy overpowers. So that's the first one. Second one, coming with a link here. So this one is called Hate Radio. Now, this is a newer one I did. I'm not even sure if this is a coherent document, so we'll see. Hate Radio. You're a Detroit J Frog, and every day you wake up really pissed. Go into your room, your box, alone with yourself, and create a Discord server. Post the link to the server publicly. Give it to your friends, your enemies, your therapists. While there is no one on the server voice chatting with you, rant at the empty walls. Rant about what's wrong with the world and how you would change it. Rant about who you would harm in broad umbrella terms. All the faggots, all the blacks, all the cockroaches in the government. Rant about hacking people apart with machetes, or if you're more into Mishima, katanas. Ambulate if you can, pacing frantically. The wall you scream at most is the popular front. Don't throw food at this wall or punch holes in it or kick it. All other walls are loose for super duper maneuvers. Fair game. This text you are reading is an unfair game. When someone enters the chat, when that Pavlovian ping breaks your guard, stop ranting immediately and chat with them. Normal tone of voice. Everything's normal. Normal. Appease your guests. If someone wants to talk about Naruto, talk about that. Even if you want to talk about Evangelion or Japanese nationalism. Tell them a little about yourself. Not too much. You're just a regular guy, gal, creature out here like everyone else. Normal. Don't let anyone catch you mid-rant in this game when they catch you. That's the second game. And those two games were both by me. But I'm going to read another game by someone. And this is a game that I don't really like very much because it kind of typifies the 200 word RPG kind of experience. It's kind of a pretentious. I mean, I don't want to say pretentious, but it's kind of like this is a very strange game, but it's also very like typical of what you find in this contest. It's almost like this game was like sort of algorithmically rigged to win the contest. Like I really fucking hate games like this, honestly. This one is called Fatima's Busy Day, and it was a 2017 RPG finalist for the 200 word RPG contest. Someone named E. Kawhi made it, probably some fucking retard or something. So the youngest player is Fatima. Others play her anthropomorphic burqa, Amir. Fatima is running errands before going on a trip. Using the prompts below as guidelines, play out scenes from Fatima's day, open air market, alleyways. Fatima's world is blue tinted because Amir is blue, but Amir can see its true colors. Amir described these to her as she travels, highlighting details that her screen saccades miss. Open air market, alleyways, mosque. Fatima's world is dangerous because people are desperate and violent. Oh God, fuck. But Amir protects her from harm. Amir, tell her how you turn away gazes, camouflage her movements, and render her invisible to potential bad actors. House, graveyard, alleyways, because of course you have to have the sentimental fucking bullshit and the But Fatima's friends and family are in turmoil because the world is bleak. They are upset that she's going away. Aw, they grasp at Fatima. Amir, tell Fatima how they feel, but be mindful of her feelings too. Whenever Amir speaks, everyone talks at once. Through the noise, Fatima chooses which narrative to silence, one by one, saying, hush, and the speaker's name. The remaining narratives become what is real. When ready, Fatima can silence everyone and just exist before ending the scene. In play when Fatima leaves for her trip. And that's it. Those are all the things I'm gonna read.
Now, so I don't know, man. I think you're underselling this last RPG. I mean, I can see what no. I can see what you're saying about it being sentimental or whatever, and it is sentimental. But I think that there's a real edge and bite to it. I would almost say that the sentimentality here is satirical, is what I would say, because after all, the object. The object here that has been like rendered in a kind of Miyazaki-esque has been anthropomorphized in a kind of Miyazaki-esque way is a burqa, which which like traditionally, like to take something that is that fraught with like religious and political implications, right? That is an object of like an object that is simultaneously seen as being like culturally significant and potentially oppressive, and to drain it of all of that and to turn it into just like a silly cartoon companion, I would think no one would do that by accident.
Well, it's not about like whether it's accidental or not. I just don't like how cute it is. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I just don't. And I don't like also like the judge had mentioned this, like like we mentioned basically what you said. It's always demonized. And they're taking it and making it into anthropomorphized and making it into something, something almost palatable for the West or whatever. But it's like it seems like I would make if I were to make this game. I'm not saying that I did, but if I were to, I would definitely make this a lot nastier. Like, I mean, I like the end of it, like Fatima leaving for her trip. Like, I mean, to me, when I read this, I read like I think suicide bomber or something like that.
Oh, okay. You see, I didn't even get that. It was so, it was written in such a gentle way. It didn't even make me think of suicide bombing. And certainly, I'm sure the author didn't just smuggle a reference to suicide bombing into this otherwise cutesy Miyazaki-inspired children's game.
Like I said, I just don't like the fact that it's algorithmically kind of set up. It seems like a real fake kind of.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So
it kind of sounds like Super Mario Odyssey took this idea. Maybe some Nintendo guys read it and they're like, anthropomorphic burqa? Well, this motherfucker threw his hat.
that seems like a good that seems like a good theory to me. Yeah.
So I've talked to you about Shuriken Motion before. Hate Radio is new though, and this is your first time sharing it with me, I think. And man, this is really good. You said you had some concerns about whether it was like understandable, but I think it was incredibly clear mechanically. I mean, there's one core mechanical component, and it's really elegant in that way, right? And it's really effective as being this kind of like bitter like satire or fuck you to like the onesie, right? The game, the or lonely play, as you said.
Lonely fun, yeah, that
yeah.
kind of, yeah. Yeah,
Like
it's
the
a
idea like that people talk about how like people will design games that aren't necessarily really made to be played, or games that are designed to be played kind of on your own, or games that are designed in a way where a lot of the enjoyment of the game is supposed to be had outside of the spirit of the game. And this really turns that on its head in a really sad way.
it's a very sad game. This is probably one of the sadder games I've made. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, man. These were awesome. Even the last one.
Rip.
Thanks, man. Grapes or Michelle is up next.
Next, okay. I was hoping I could read for a little longer than I usually read. I usually go for like a minute.
Have fun. Knock yourself out because we've only got one other person after you, and it's only 9:20. So, we now have two people after you, but it's still only 9:20. So you're good.
Okay, so I want to read 2 nonfiction pieces, some poetry, and the nonfiction pieces, one is like a travel to Panama, and the other one is a travel to Boston. Okay, and some poems sprinkled throughout. Okay, this one's about being at bookings. The title is What Street You Live On, He Asked. Can I get your number though? We were in bookings. Inside the cell was half a dozen people. The cops were transporting people in a line from one room to the next. From getting our shots and fingerprints taken to getting filed into cells divided by sex. I was being moved with the other females past the gentleman behind the bars asking bald me in a DIY micro mini skirt what street you live on, what bar you go to. He'd let me know. You can find me on 119th and 89th. What's your name though? Amongst the women that made up the line of females, he was giving me the special treatment. Looking back, I think it was my hair, of which I had taken scissors to, down to my scalp for a wild, uneven cut. You looking fine, Ma, he'd assure me. This one is titled And I'm Free Again, 2012-20. So what is that, December 20th? I'm free again. Listening to No Means No, who is, in my opinion, subpar. I'm free again. This is the beginning of my free time until tomorrow. I'm here, free for some hours, wasting time away with another alternative tentacles hit. Another AT hit that is not I Wish I Was in El Salvador, end quote, by DOA. Then I have a little drawing, but you probably can't see it, so let's not go there. And then the next day, 21 of December of 20, at the end of my free time now, down to my less than 90 minutes to myself before work, I'm already out of time again. With no time to do something of substance, I decided it. I guess I'll paint now. I'm paint now, or not. Pre-work takes a lot of time, even for me. I'm sick. I feel ill, but not in a COVID way. Yet I'm going to work. I don't know. I'm not that ill still. I don't wish to speak on it further. My 100 minutes are up. Off to job soon. I think about the poem I wrote this weekend at work on a piece of little paper, ... Then I have a drawing of a piece of paper with a poem. So it's a poem in a poem. Poem titled, I Had a Tummy Ache. And I'm getting over it. I have other things I want to do with my day. For example, I need time for play. I had a tummy ache today and I wish to play. Okay, and here's my trip to Panama. 8:44 a.m. Monday, February 26, 2022. On my way to Pereira, I sit on this flight in the sky. We boarded the flight around 4:20 a.m. It's now 10 minutes to 9 a.m. Exploring the Sky TV options now that I'm awake, Bloom crosses my mind. Patti Smith is one of the options under music, and so is The Clash and The Strokes. Now down to less than an hour before we arrive to Panama, I scramble to get as much TV in while I can. Now on the TV, Uptown Girl by Billy Joel. I think of how this trip will go. How much will I disclose to my family about me? Daryl Hall and John Oates sing to me now. I miss Sarah. On my neck lays a necklace, the pendant of which Mr. Bloom Clank tied up a rock with wire. And I wondered it. Was the Hall and Oates song the inspiration for the Love Light song? The intro is reminiscent of the intro in the latter. Turns out the Sky TV has its share of fun night fun on it. Listening to Nancy Sinatra's song a minute or two ago, I now explore a different album. Various artists with Elvis Presley on the cover, hits from the 70s. The plane moves gently across the sky, moving south as below clouds scatter their shadows across the ocean. 11:30 a.m. Same day. The plane landed maybe an hour ago. I'm in the airport, warm, waiting on my latte macchiato at the No Plane on Sunday bar in Panama City. As the plane began to descend, I thought of an old love again, drinking a latte macchiato now at the airport bar. I sip of my hot beverage in the warm airport. My beverage of milk, not almond or even oat at that. 12:08 p.m. Figured I need something to occupy my time. I thought of a few rhymes. None of them rhymes with styes, nor blue eyes. Thinking of my new romantic interest bloom. My past love life is left to a certain doom. 12:27 p.m. Now I'm an international gal that dozes off in public, several countries away, amidst music recording playbacks, writing, coloring my drawing. I got sleepy. The bartender gave me the password and username for the frickin' Wi-Fi, but I forgot how the username goes. And then I have scribbled Margarita 0922. Okay, and a poem titled Hour 9 Layover in Panama, 8:30 p.m. We are the last of the punk rock and roll artists. The coffee cappuccino latte thing doesn't work. I gave it a shot. I already read this one before, but I'm gonna go for it again. The title is Whatever. Okay, yeah, fine. Okay. I think just two more and that's it. Wait, two more and then Boston. My toxic traits, I leave my drawers open upon opening them, and my toxic trait is also that I hid my drug from me on accident. I placed my mushroom somewhere and I forget just where it is. Not all of things bad as an eggshell in your mouth as you try to eat the hard-boiled egg that is protected by a shell. I poured some whiskey into my mouth and crossed my legs. Daddy had a long day at work. Okay, and now for Boston. 7/16/22, so last Saturday. I'm tired. I'm at Moynihan Hall now, waiting on a train north as my phone both charges and installs an update. I don't have a place to sleep tonight yet. I'm on my way to see Bay, and I prepared for this trip in all of 10 minutes this morning, minutes after the clock struck 6. In my haste, I forgot my toothpaste and toothbrush, so now I have to buy some again. It's past 9:30 a.m. now, and the track for my train ought to appear momentarily. At Moynihan Hall, everything is shiny and clean, unlike my relationship with Bay. It's just another summer day riding the trains. Before being obscured by a cloud, the sun shines in through the domed plexi whatever glass ceiling. I think about the sky and the infinite expanse that are the stars and all things celestial. At Moynihan Hall, my train is delayed, like my period. Not that I'd have a child or children. I'm just not on birth control and didn't use condoms. And well, it's hours later and I'm getting sweaty. My heartbeat is, I guess, racing. And the evening's unknown factors yield a combination of anxiety and excitement that I'm normatively bland. Life's routine does not otherwise yield. We, me and the train full of strangers and you, are at Boston South Station threshold. One stop to go. Goodbye Back Bay Station and Harrow South Street Station. My mind races and I try keeping a positive demeanor. I try to visualize it. My night, the best case scenario, and I'm aware of it. Life's never exactly all rainbows and all butterflies. If I faint, will you catch me? I'm not pregnant. And like that, the trip is on the last leg. I'm on the way home now. The night's been over, dwelling on nothing. It's what it was. The night happened sweetly, slowly. In conclusion, as I conferred with my two new lady friends, he's independent and so am I. He can do his thing and I can do my thing, in theory and practice, perhaps. All right, 3 poems and I'm done. Wasted weekend. Watching your garden, watered by whom I knew must have existed. Poem titled, You Missed My Graduation Party. I told him, although nobody went to it and there was ultimately actually no party. It's 9 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's a work night on which I might take 1 tab of acid, or rather half a tab. I want to wait until everyone falls asleep, however. Until then, I'll just take out the trash and stuff. Slept all day and now I have a whole day of everything I didn't do. Poem titled, I put eyeliner on as lip liner and dark lipstick on too. I basically got fired today. I'm out of a job again. I have to go back to studying now. I have to make money somehow. I think of the adult videos I'm going to make anonymously. I don't know. I need money. Jerk off to me. Pay me. Thank you.
So, first of all, I'm really sad that Michael McSweeney isn't here because he missed your ode to South Station. And as someone from New England, I'm sure he would have wanted to hear that. And I've spent, oh God, when I was living in New Hampshire, I spent a lot of time sitting in South Station too, so I know those feels. Anyway, though, Michelle, in the past, like, you've mostly read poetry, so I'm not going to talk about the poetry. Everything I've said in the past about your poetry still stands. I want to talk about your I don't know, your autofiction pieces or your short prose pieces, because they're really good. And I've tried to write in the past about like trips I've taken, like, because I love like road trip fiction, right? I love travel fiction, and I especially love fiction that's not like so much about the events of the trip, but the act of traveling itself, and the sense of like time just kind of unfolding while you're like stationary and trapped. And one thing that like there's this real desire when you're writing about a trip, like some part of you wants to capture every insignificant detail that's happening, right? Like everything you see in the window, every thought that crosses your mind. And you do that, and you do that really in a really effective, I think, way, where you get like simultaneously like both the banality of the moment, like all the little intrusive thoughts, and like the grander sense of like hurtling through space and travel, and that promise that like the next moment could be profound. And I think it's really good. It's really fucking good is what I'm saying. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I really like the description of Monahan Hall there, and how it's like it's super bright and everything is like fucking shiny, but you contrast that with like your mood at the time and like how your heart is racing, and that's really good touch. That was how basically I felt as someone who doesn't go to New York a lot. When I was in there, I was like, holy shit, like fuck, it's bright as shit in here, and there's like 1,000 people like just yelling, and fucking occasionally a homeless person will come in and start yelling about some shit, and it's just a really good like encapsulation of that place. But also really like the piece that I don't know what it was called, but it was the one that basically was ended with Daddy's had a hard day at work. That one was really like succinct and like holy shit, like the end was a real punch. Like, so yeah.
Thank you so much, Grapes, or Michelle. I'm going to keep calling you Grapes. You were Grapes first, and now you're Grapes forever. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm grapes forever.
So, next up, I have someone who wanted to read a piece anonymously. I think they're in here as Zero, and I'm not going to reveal their identity or something. They wanted to read the piece anonymously, as I said. So, Zero, this floor is yours.
Should have put it as less than 0. That would have been wittier. But God, I'm hot and I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and I'm in a kind of cramped space here. And I'm going to read a story about, or not a story. I'm going to read a poem, sort of inspired by Elizabeth Aldrich Harris, who passed away and who means a lot to everyone. So I'm kind of screwed here, but I'm in a good spot, I guess, in a bad way. But I'll just read this thing because that memorial last week was inspiring. And I only got to meet her here a couple times, but it was shocking to hear her passing and to remember, you know, having been totally blown away by the story I read by her, you know, a year and a half ago. So, and I don't usually read things like this, so I'm feeling terrible, but it's just something I gotta read. So, whatever, enough talking. I had to update my flash drive. To be able to finally meet you in person. Anime like a perfect character in an online game we love to play. Your demeanor, somewhat like supersonic Anais Nin, engrossed in personages. It was you, I imagine, when writing a short story that ends tragically for the narrator too. Did musings just enable you down that beautiful doomed path? You seem to have helped us imagine. You were obviously surrounded by assholes who sucked your glow like crystals from a pipe. You shone just as darkly bright. My flight is still booked for LA to meet your ghost. Imagine a world of literary fame. The old set locations. To peer behind a dumpster, the dumpster from Mulholland Drive. To feel the Santa Ana winds, Marlowe inhaled with gunpowder smoke. To visit the addresses in the valley you tweeted out. You tweeted you are content with who you are, which is so beautiful. It wasn't self-hatred then, was it? Novels with glinty spines. Like a performer on RedTube, so many get off on. You were that pure. That's my poem. I know very little about LA, so I probably fucked some stuff up there.
That was really powerful. It was very, very powerful. I'm sorry, it's still fucking hard to talk about, right? But there were so many moments in that poem. God, it's it's such a uniquely weird situation to be eulogizing a person you never met in person, right? And this poem really gets at like not only how alienating and weird that experience is, but also like the bittersweetness and the pain of that in a really, I think, beautiful way. The moment about the flight still being booked to meet a ghost is just tremendous. Like I was joking up. I was joking up. And there are so many like beautiful, tender little details here. And knowing who you are and without saying anything that would give away who you are, this is a tremendous stylistic departure for you, number one. And it really works. It's tender and it's intimate and it's effective. And number two, knowing who you are, the fact that you decided to make this about Eris and deliver this poem anonymously, I think says something about how important she was to her. That you decided to make this about her and not about you, I think is really, fuck man. God damn it, man. Fuck it. It's a great poem. It's a great poem, and I fucking miss her. I fucking miss her a lot. Thank you for reading.
Yeah, Zero is a great name and tribute because Smashing Pumpkins, I think Smashing Pumpkins Zero, a band Eris used to love too. So yeah. Yeah, no, that was awesome. Amazing, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you. John is up next.
Hey guys, this is a tough one to follow.
Hey, John.
Well, okay, I'm gonna read two poems. Not a poet, never been a poet, not good at writing poems. This one's more of a tweet than anything. I barely call it a poem. So bear with me here. I don't know what it's called either. I got caught on a bug trap today. What does that make me? And that's the poem. And then, well, I was actually gonna, if it's not too much, I wanted to read a short poem by Eris too, but I don't know. Yeah, let's do it. I don't know.
Go for it.
This one's called Deja Vu Redo, but it's spelled in a French kind of way. REDOUX, redux, I think. Many times I have seen you somewhere before. I will see you somewhere again. Our eyes will meet. We are strangers to ourselves, but not yet each other. Refusing farewells and abandoning the pretext of greeting many times. Our uncommon mission, enigmatic coincidence of no small inconsequence. As I have seen you somewhere before, I will see you somewhere again. In time immemorial and with no expectations, you will see me through as I have seen through you. And those are the two poems I wanted to read.
Thank you, John. You know, it's amazing. Over the course of the past 2 weeks, I've heard more of Eris's work than I think she ever shared here. You know, and it's funny, but it's not fucking funny. But that poem is a perfect choice. You know, I mean,
It
I don't know what to say about her work. I wish because fuck, I wish she was here so that I could say something about her work and she could hear me say something about her work, because her work was always fucking great and she needed to hear how great her work was. So I'm going to talk about I'm gonna talk about your bug
I'd-
poem instead, because I was
I
was
did,
going to say on the bug poem, I was gonna say, man, it's a fucking shame Gigi isn't here to hear that poem, because I didn't think he was here today.
Excuse me?
And he's here, and he is here, exactly. And I saw, just as you read that poem, I saw Gigi pop up, and I was like, oh, Gigi is here to hear that poem, because that, Gigi, is that not a poem that you would have written on some level? Is that like not very
Look,
like?
John and I have sex often and very voraciously, but I don't know, that's beside the point. But that was a lovely
No,
poem.
John, I mean that as a compliment, though. I mean that as a really high compliment, because it's Gigi is kind of the master of these short, witty poems that are half like joke and half poem. Don't flip me off, man, when I am fucking complimenting.
The Eris one is better though. She blows all the shit that John and I write.
it's not even close. It's I wrote rupee card dog shit compared to
Dude, I'll fight Ruby Carr at SummerSlam. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, but John, the poem, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really, I know it was like 2 lines long, but it was so concise, so effective, and like all your work, so funny. Thank you, John.
thanks. If it's okay, I do want to say,
Yeah.
you know, I am going through a lot of Eris's and putting a lot of her stuff together, and it's unbelievable. A regret is that I haven't read all this sooner, so I could say just how amazing it is. It's really, it's a weird feeling, but it's all, there's so much and it's all so good, and you just wish you could have said something, but you can't. But I guess the next best thing is to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Oh, I think Rudy. Oh,
No, that's all I was gonna say.
oh, you were just gonna, yeah. And at least, fuck. I mean, I'm not the kind of person to look for fucking silver linings or anything, but like, at least she left a lot of work to be discovered, right? Like, fuck, at least there's, at least there's
still-
more to find,
You can still like find new bits of her voice. I don't know, just come across
Yeah.
it randomly. Yeah.
Yeah, Gigi, you said it much better than I did, exactly. So Lily is up next, and then after that, we don't have anyone left who wanted to read, but we still have some time. So if anyone has a piece, just let me know in the chat or put it in the chat.
Yeah. Lily, do you have a Twitter you want me to add?
Mad private, and also virginal to this. I actually came here because of Eris, so it's kind of a beautiful thing here. I do have a Twitter actually. Select follow.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. This was, let's see, it was a month ago that I wrote this. Smarter than your therapist is what I titled it. The mornings are the worst. I thought it would be so much better if I stopped, did what I was supposed to do. If the bed would only suck me into its ribcage and digest the defeat and curses and anger and all of it, that would be a good morning. The obsession with baptisms is starting to paralyze this growth that everyone keeps talking about. I'm tired of the doctors and medication, feeling utterly alienated. I'm also tired of talking about it so much, so I've engaged in a little bit of game theory during therapy. Zoomed into the session, declined the processing, opting instead to hold hands and journey to sincerity, aka the prison of said pure, my pubescent creativity. Can you heal me from my obsession with purity, I plead. She consents and to try, and damn it, this indulgence of hers is just as an intoxicating rush. Sure, just regulates me further, so hard. Maybe this HIPAA trust fall is what could have saved me from all the anguish, huh? I lived to make my therapists and doctors laugh. When I was a freshman in high school, I used to write poetry anonymously to a guy in the senior class. I felt very alive back then. I would write and write and write the worst garbage you've ever read and slip the most Hollywood into his Davidoff cool water smelling locker at school, an experiment and the height of covert romance. He eventually figured out it was me, and after some prudish alter egoing, we went driving in a Jeep Cherokee and smoked cigarettes and told each other secrets. I missed the crush I used to think that was love. More than anything, really. The awkwardness, that beautiful abyss, the foot shuffling, hand holding, the near stranger's breath, the curiosity. Like all disrobed wizards, no matter the enormity of their grace and posture, he turned out to be not whom I had hoped he'd be. Eventually, hot kisses couldn't obscure his limitations to engage in the dark. We lost touch after he graduated, but I felt no less alive, and truth be told, experienced momentary superiority, as though I had made my journey with noble heart. How could he have kept up his side of the bargain? The romantic and the alcoholic have so much in common, really. When either is faced with the idea of losing access to that intoxication, be it vodka or secret notes, the world suddenly becomes inhumane, a foreign land, and can cause the worst sort of tremor from within. And there's really no going back for the romantic. The alcoholic can take comfort in the fact that eventually all will be lost and it will really take care of its own absolution. The romantic has age, awareness, distrust of beauty, distrust of all things really to contend with, and those foes are a heap of bricks that shower from the uninteresting, glimmeringless sky and pound my head into a lonely corner without a stitch of eternality or proper memory. Thus, addiction, my illness of mind, misguided servitude to a lackluster power, is truly a kinder affliction than those that come with that white self and the vulnerability of her heart to flutter with anticipation brought on by well-timed hand squeeze. Shred it.
No, that was fucking powerful. What are you talking about? Shred it. That, oh my God, from the very beginning, that moment when you say you wish the bed could digest like all the negativity and bad feelings, like this, like as somebody who's like struggled with like depression, like, you know, from minute one, you so eloquently throughout the course of this piece really like delve into the psychology of depression in a way that's so fucking gorgeously poetic. I mean, and the bit about like play of game theory during therapy is so funny and so like honest and true too, because I know how many times I was thinking, how many times have I sat in a therapy session and I'm thinking, how am I going to make my therapist feel good today, right? Like, what are their expectations for me? How am I going to give them the feeling that I've made a breakthrough, so at the end of the day they can say, oh, I helped him, you know? And all of this, like the intimacy and emotional complexity of this piece is really great, really effective. So it's a great fucking piece, Lily. Thank you for sharing it. Does anyone else have anything? We have everyone who's signed up to read or has read. Does anyone else have something that they'd like to read?
I have a piece, William.
Huh? You do,
If
Keith?
I can read, I have a short piece.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a piece of short prose that I wrote last year. Daybreak, June 3rd, 2021. There's a break in the trees, a window to the eastern horizon. A sliver of light beige clouds rest on the windowsill. Pale blue skies fill the panes. A sparkling star moves slowly across the sky. A thin white string trails behind. A crow flies across the window. It lands on a branch in a tree. Slowly, time passes. The clouds brighten, the colors change. The sparkling star disappears. The string morphs into a serrated saw blade. The crow calls and flies away. The air warms, the breeze picks up, and a new day begins. Every day can be a special day. That's it.
Keith, that I think is the perfect piece to end on tonight. I think a lot of us are still feeling melancholic, and that, very short piece, but sad, and like really, but not just sad like transitioning into hopeful, which you do really well traditionally, Keith. That sense of like um, kind of gentle hopefulness that isn't pushy. I think that like a lot of us here, the misery tourism crowd has a real aversion to like pushy hopefulness. But there is but a real craving probably for a kind of gentle hopefulness, something that like eases us into an ability to actually like want to go on, and Keith, your work is wonderful at that, and this is no exception. Thank you for sharing.
But thanks, William. I appreciate the chance to share this. Thanks.
And I think we will call it there. As usual, I am going to leave the Zoom call up for a while after this. If people want to hang out, if they want to socialize or whatever, that they can do so. But that's it for the reading. This has been Misery Loves Company. As I said at the top, we do this every week, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and share their work. Anyone is welcome to come and just lurk and hang out. We tweet the link out from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism, one word, each week right before we begin. So follow us, and if you want to join, you can join. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, everyone who read. This is a lot of really powerful work tonight, and I really appreciate people coming and sharing it. Yeah, fuck it. That's it. We're done, guys.